I know what I'm doing is wrong. On one hand, I want to end this extramarital affair, but on the other, I keep hoping he'll reach out to me, even ask to meet up. To be honest, I really don't want a divorce. I just wanted to find some comfort in my dull life, but I never expected to get in this deep. Every day, I'm torn between reason and emotion, and I don't know how much longer I can hold on. What does a woman feel the first time she sees a man's private parts? Let's hear what these three women have to say. Xiaoqing. From a tactile to a visual shock. My name is Xiaoqing. I'm 28 years old, and I work as an ordinary office employee. Thinking back to the first time I saw that part of a man, I still feel it was a unique and profound experience in my life. At that time, I had just started dating my boyfriend, Li Ran. We were in the sweet stage of being madly in love, with emotions flowing in the air, carrying a kind of heart-fluttering ambiguity. That night, we were in Li Ran's apartment. The lighting was soft, and the atmosphere was warm and cozy. As we talked, the mood gradually heated up. He gently took my hand and guided it toward his body. At that moment, my hand touched that unfamiliar part, and I instantly froze. The sensation was far more intense than I had imagined soft, yet with a strange elasticity, as if some kind of taboo had been broken. My heart started racing, like I had been shocked by electricity. I didn't dare move at all, and my mind went completely blank. That was the first time I had ever experienced that part of a man's body through touch. I had never watched adult films and had only seen vague depictions in some comics or works of art, so my understanding of it was entirely based on imagination. The real sensation completely overturned what I thought I knew, leaving me both curious and nervous. I didn't even know how to react, so I could only let Li Ran guide me, immersed in a swirl of complicated emotions. A few days later, I finally saw that part with my own eyes. It was an even more intimate night. Li Ran stood in front of me without reservation, and I finally mustered the courage to look directly at him. At that moment, I have to admit, the visual experience was not as stunning as I had expected. Its color was darker than I had imagined, and it was also larger than I had anticipated. Later on, I learned that Li Ran's was actually a bit larger than average, and that my expectations had been based on those idealized depictions in comics. In reality, it was covered with hair, like a large mushroom sprouting from a dense patch of grass, which made me secretly laugh to myself. At first, I found it a bit unfamiliar, even somewhat ugly. Compared to the smooth, simple lines in comics, the male body in reality appeared complex and authentic. The presence of hair surprised me. I had never imagined there would be so much hair in that area. But gradually, I began to accept this reality. It was no longer something forbidden or unfamiliar, but rather a part of Li Ran's body, carrying his warmth and vitality. As our relationship developed, Li Ran and I grew increasingly close. We traveled together, watched movies, and shared the little moments of daily life. He would take me to his favorite restaurants and order a table full of dishes I loved. We would also snuggle on the couch, watching old movies, laughing until we were doubled over. Those moments made me feel happy, and also helped me gradually get used to his body. The part of him that once made me tense and set my heart racing has now become a part of our intimacy. It's no longer something strange, but rather an extension of love, full of the breath of life. Chen Keike, from shock to respect. My name is Chen Keike. I'm 30 years old and work as a freelancer. When I was young, most of what I knew about men came from novels. Those romantic words painted a hazy yet beautiful image, like a watercolor painting. I never really thought about what that part would actually look like. I just imagined it must be mysterious and alluring. It wasn't until I reached puberty, driven by curiosity, that I secretly watched a few adult films. In that moment, my entire perception was completely overturned. The first time I saw that part of a man on screen, I was so startled I almost cried out. Its shape, color, and size were nothing like what I had imagined. I couldn't accept how it really looked. I found it so ugly that I could hardly bear to look at it. Compared to the gentle beauty of the female body, the male part seemed rough and strange to me. I even wondered why men's and women's bodies could be so different. This difference left me feeling confused and even a bit repulsed. The first time I actually saw a man's body in real life was half a year after I started dating my boyfriend, Zhao Yang. It was a quiet night. We were in a hotel room. The atmosphere was intimate and warm, and when Zhao Yang took off his clothes, I saw that part for the first time with my own eyes. In that moment, I was almost so startled that I took a step back. He looked even more real than in the videos. The hair, the texture, the color, everything felt so unfamiliar and unacceptable to me. I thought to myself, how could it be like this? Is this really all there is to being male? Zhao Yang noticed my discomfort, gently took my hand and smiled, saying, "It's okay, take your time." His patience helped me relax a lot. That night, we didn't go any further. Instead, we talked a lot about our lives, our dreams, and our hopes for the future. His honesty made me start to re-examine my own reactions. As time went by, I gradually began to view the male body more rationally. I started to understand that the differences between male and female bodies are determined by the laws of nature. There is no such thing as beautiful or ugly, just differences. I read some books about physiology and gender, and learned that these differences are the result of life's evolution. Zhao Yang's body no longer seemed ugly to me. Instead, it became a part of who he is, carrying its own unique charm. Now, Zhao Yang and I have been together for 2 years. We've been through a lot together, from traveling to arguing, from sweet moments to working through our differences. When I work overtime late into the night, he quietly brings me a hot midnight snack, and when he's under a lot of work pressure, I accompany him for walks and conversations. We've learned to respect each other's bodies and personalities, and we've also learned to cherish this relationship. That part of his body that once shocked me is now just a part of him, carrying a natural vitality. I'm no longer afraid. Instead, I've learned to accept and respect. Zhang Xiaoling, from the anatomy lab to falling in love. My name is Zhang Xiaoling. I'm 26 years old and a medical student. The first time I saw that part of a man was in anatomy class. It was a male cadaver, once a living, breathing person, now lying quietly on the lab table, waiting for us to explore the mysteries of life. As a medical student, I was full of curiosity about the human body. When we were dissecting the abdominal cavity, I was still filled with a kind of passionate excitement, eager to unveil the mysteries of life. However, when we reached that part during the dissection, I felt a wave of emotion inside. The shape, color, and texture of that area gave me quite a shock. It looked strange, even a bit ugly, completely different from the aesthetics of the human body I had imagined. At the moment, I even worried that I might be left with a psychological shadow because of it. After class, I sat alone outside the laboratory, the image replaying in my mind over and over, feeling both shocked and conflicted. It wasn't until I met my boyfriend, Liu Ming, that everything began to change. I met Liu Ming while interning at the hospital. He was an intern, Dr. Gentle and humorous. That day, he was examining an elderly patient in the ward, and I was assisting him. He patiently answered the patient's questions, always wearing a warm smile. I was drawn to his professionalism and patience, and couldn't help but steal a few more glances at him. We started seeing each other more often, having lunch and coffee together, talking about medicine, movies, and travel. Gradually, we discovered we had a lot in common. He would bring me a hot coffee when I was on night shift, and I would listen attentively when he shared cases. At a party one time, we had a few drinks and took a walk along a quiet street. Suddenly, he took my hand and, smiling, said, "Xiaoling, I've liked you for a long time." My heart started racing, and I mustered up the courage to reply, "I like you too." One night after we started dating, we finally saw each other completely, without any barriers. The first time I saw that part of him alive and real, my perspective changed completely. It was no longer a cold, lifeless part on the anatomy table, but something vibrant and full of life. It changes with the mood of the refugees. Usually it's small, but when you gently squeeze it, it's both elastic and textured, as if it has a life of its own. In that moment, I couldn't help but marvel at the wonder of life. The part that once seemed so strange to me now looked so lively and endearing. Liu Ming always makes me feel at ease. He helps me review my notes before exams and takes me out to the countryside to watch the stars on weekends. Our feelings for each other gradually deepened through these little moments, and the part that once almost cast a shadow over me has now become a part of our intimacy. It is no longer something ugly, but instead is full of the breath of life. Xiaoqing, Chen Keke, and Zhang Xiaoling each had different experiences, but all went through a process from curiosity and shock to acceptance. Xiaoqing went from feeling tense at the touch to visually adapting, learning to accept the real male body in intimate relationships. Chen Keke moved from initial rejection to rational respect, coming to understand the natural beauty of gender differences. As for Zhang Xiaolin, she went from being shocked in the anatomy lab to finding novelty in romance, discovering the vividness and charm of vitality. Their stories show us that exploring the unknown is not only about understanding the body, but also about emotional and personal growth.